So, one hour, good evening. So today we are talking about our subject is how can I overcome three types of laziness. In fact, it is not easy talk to only about laziness without touch with efforts or enthusiasm for virtue or diligence. So therefore, we need to talk about effort or diligence first. When we're talking about effort, I think the word effort has some improper flavors, because effort can be anything. Great interest, even whatever, unvirtue, not virtues, not virtue things. And for example, what should I say? Even some people have a great interest, work in butcher or soldier or killing, and so on and so forth. For example, I remember when our children was very small, one of a very close friend of my son, our son, he has certain tendencies to see the Schlachten, slaughter, can I say slaughter, early in the morning. So he gets up very early in the morning and go to the such places and to watch and admire and this kind of habits. So that's what beyond. I don't know whether doesn't remember or not. Yes, so he was like this. It's, for us, it's incredible things, but he is very enjoyed. He has a big enjoyment. So these are the somehow, I should say, he effort to get up, effort to go there, effort to see, I don't know, but anyway, effort to go there. And so these are the nothing to do with the sense of our meaning of so-called zhenru. Zhenru is therefore what I found is enthusiasm for virtue. On top of that, zhenru existed by beginners such as us, and until I think even in Buddhahood, by the Buddhas, I don't know, so be careful. Some philosophical understanding is need to be taken care. So, however, even the after you reach the 8th bhumi, you are effortless. Your state of practice or whatever, you are being in the effortless state. That's what I know. And maybe it also goes to into the Buddhahood, and the Buddha could have, I don't know exactly, but the 6 paramitas and 10 paramitas. There are, I remember, there are some sort of Buddha's qualities, regarded as Buddha's quality. So therefore, zhenru should have by the Buddhas. So Buddhas are, already from the eighth state, eighth bhumis, you are, what I said, effortless. You have a quality of effortless. So therefore, word effort for Tsundu, it is not really proper, I think. And then word diligence. Diligence, as far as my English language understanding or feeling, it's more or less diligence very carefully, learning very carefully, or doing very carefully. You are practicing diligently, also very carefully. Maybe it's some flavor of doing with great enthusiasm, maybe included. So therefore, diligence can be also some sort of alternative for Zendu. Because it's if you're using enthusiasm for virtue is long. So therefore one would like to have a shorter term. So, but you know the best choice, so I just want to give some ideas, what can be, what cannot be, and so on and so forth. As we discussed yesterday already, so that we all need to learn, we all need to study Buddhist way of thinking, Buddhist whatever, philosophy, and if you want to really know a deeper level of Buddhist practice, without understanding, without knowing the Buddhist philosophy, there's nowhere. So therefore, we are the forced to learn, at least a little bit, study as good as possible, as much as possible, philosophy, Buddhist philosophy. So when we are study philosophy, then of course we need to confrontate with many terminologies, which gives you proper meaning. And our Buddhist terminology is so deep, so precise, and each word can give you certain meaning. And after you understand this meaning of that word, this word, so then you wouldn't be involved in any other misunderstanding. So therefore it is extremely important to know the correct language or correct meaning of words. Nothing just something like saying effort and whatever, anything word slightly similar can be used wouldn't help you. Not only help you, but it's also some kind of misleading. There are three or four different kinds of enthusiasm for virtues. And number one is armed. I found dictionary, I tried to get some correct terminology, but they're using different ways, so I was a bit puzzled, so I just took whatever I could find. So number one is armed with diligence. So armed with diligence in the sense of that while you apply diligently to learn or to meditate or to whatever, and then you have to very strong determination. Through nothing can stop you. So therefore, the word amen. So therefore, in order to develop, in order to keep enthusiasm for virtues, you need to understand it, you need to learn the, what's the word? Advantage if you keep your enthusiasm. And you also need to know the disadvantage if you don't keep your enthusiasm. So this too is very important to understand. Okay. Is it really? Okay. So I think everybody going out, I will be alone here. Not much use to talk by myself. And you're pretending to translate to Chinese. Better have a cup of tea. I thought you all don't want to listen to me. Everybody one by one going out. What should we do?
You should pull down one big plastic cover to cover the tangas.
Tanga, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Maybe damage done.
Already covered.
Really? Okay,
Somehow
okay. What I try to explain. So anyway, somehow, yeah. I always try to explain the proper understanding of focusing, correct, focusing to the advantage doing this and that. It's most crucial. And for example, it might be exaggerated if I say all of us, but many of us sometimes don't have a great interest to do certain practice of meditation or recitation or whatever. Because the reason, of course, there can be many reasons. It can be also, of course, if you are tired through the daily activities, and so therefore it's become so late. Whole day you are engaged with certain works. In the evening, of course, then you feel so tired, and so therefore it is not. There's not great interest to put effort into the recitation or meditation, so right? But this is, of course, some reason that we can understand, that we should understand, could understand. But another reason, just something without having great meaning or, yes, reason, just feel not you're not feeling, you don't have a correct feeling to meditate, to recite, and to do this and that things. So, and we would prefer just be relaxed. So, either, I mean, in Singapore, I think it's not that way, but in the European countries, better to have the glass of beer or something like that, and just relax, stretch out, and watching TV, and spend the rest of time. So this way, this tendency is quite widely introduced. So the meaning is, of course, we didn't understand really from bottom of your heart the advantage if you're doing or if you learn to learning and studying and meditating and all these things. It's a lack of interest, lack of interest based on the lack of understanding of the knowledge, understanding of advantage if you're doing this. So therefore, for example, we're supposed to meditate or study or thinking about bodhicitta, of course, but without knowing, why should I do this continuously? Of course, everybody talking about to reach enlightenment, but this can be more superficial level. We know somehow, somewhere is enlightenment, and it's supposed to be very nice to get that. But it's really really understanding of what's the enlightenment. Why should I to reach the enlightenment? What will help? What will happen if I don't reach? If I'm not focusing to reach the enlightenment, what will happen? What would happen? So these things need to be discussed by ourselves very thoroughly. The result should be, I must reach the, at least I must reach beyond samsara. Because in samsaric level, I've been so depressed, and I'm suffering through the different kinds of sufferings, which are strongly connected or comes out or many defilements. So therefore, I can't bear it. I can't remain this way. All this, one by one, many, one after another. The reasons need to be connected. If you understand this way, so then of course we will get genuine interest. Without having genuine interest, everything is more or less superficial level. And Buddhism or Buddhist doctrine or whatever, talking about these things. And Buddhism is very nice, so it might be not bad if I could reach, if I could develop some these things. So this is not enough. So therefore, it is, we must have the background knowledge, the reason knowledge. During my early time to teach Buddhist practice to our German friends or Western friends. Of course, I have no idea regarding the different kind of approach and different kind of way of thinking between our Tibetan, old Tibetans way of thinking and some other Asian countries as well. So once I tried to explain about the preliminary practice and especially regarding about the prostrations, right? prostrations. Then I explained you can put the Buddha's picture, and in front of this you can do prostrations. And one man, I remember quite clearly, came to see me and said, I don't want to do this. And I tried, but I don't see any reason, because the picture is just a piece of paper. In front of paper, just doing process. So I don't feel that's correct. So then, of course, that's the reason is he doesn't understand meaning of having Buddha's picture, and he doesn't understand who was or who is the Buddha, and what symbolized the picture, and all this communication or relationship he didn't understand. If you don't understand this, then of course the picture is just a piece of paper. And then another occasion, it's also some kind of similar, and we Tibetans just trained right from the beginning to generate bodhicitta is very precious. Bodhicitta, having bodhicitta is the entrance or gate of enter into the Mahayana. So if you don't have bodhicitta, you will not belong to the Mahayana practitioner. So in that case, Tibetans thinking, if I wouldn't belong to the Mahayana, that would be catastrophic, something like that. So I want catastrophe. I must belong to the Mahayana. So therefore, I want to generate bodhicitta. This is Tibetan way of thinking. So during my explanation about the bodhicitta, of course, according to Lamrim text, just thoroughly, without changing, without consideration of the Westerners as an audience, and I explained that. And someone during the discussion said, I'm not really interested to get into Mahayana. What should I do? So that's the direct answer. I'm not interested to belong to the Mahayana practitioner. So that's, of course, for the Tibetans, without having proper understanding of the other listeners, so some sort of a shock. But later, of course, I understood it very well. The approaching, the way of teaching is totally the wrong way. You cannot go this way. You cannot think that all audience, all listeners are very much devoted to the Buddhism and very much interested in Buddhism. You cannot. You always think that they have some, if I may exaggerate, they have a tiny little interest into the Buddhist way, but you must know that, and you need to explain more diligently, more explain background and so on and so forth. So therefore, without having knowledge of the advantage doing this and that, it wouldn't work. Dalai Lama explained that in the early time, somehow, several thousand years, somehow people would like to have certain object which rely on that. So therefore, you worship to the certain gods, or even the trees and the sun and moon, I don't know, and any kind of the nature objects. And then later, of course, it's developed furthermore and furthermore, and connected with some Greek and Egyptians and Western philosophy, but not that much deep. At certain time, Buddha started. Gautama enlightened, and he started to teach. And his teaching based on Four Noble Truths. So that means totally Buddhism is based on cause and conditions and interdependence. So this cause and condition and interdependence is a pillar of Buddhism. So without knowing these two, cause and condition and interdependence, there's no way to teach, no way to understand the proper meaning of Shakyamuni Buddha's theory or teaching. Buddha Shakyamuni's doctrine is based, or structure of Buddha Shakyamuni's teaching, or as I yesterday mentioned, design of Buddhism is cause and condition and interdependence. So therefore, there are so many things that need to be understood. It's only to be understood without having just blind faith and just according to our own family traditions or country tradition, just believe something without knowing further, deeper reason or meaning of the doings. So that wouldn't help. And if we are, Dalai Lama expressed, if we are doing only this way, that means based on just faith, just believe something. So the Buddhism not will remain not more than 100 years. But if you understand, if you study, and if you practice with knowledge as 21st century Buddhist, so then there's a chance to exist several more hundred years of Buddhism. That's very true, because just believe, just look in the Western countries, the people, of course, although they are the majority religion in the West is Christianity, but they participate to the sermons and the Sundays reduced, going less and less people in the Sunday in the church. So it shows because they don't understand the meaning of God and Christianities, and there's no good enough, not thorough enough to explain, and so on and so forth. When I see the Facebooks, there are some occasion you can see some monasteries or some places, the monk and layperson, for example, in Bhutan, the dancers are layperson. They do some at a different occasion, they're dancing, ritual dancing, and making Dhamma offerings, or throughout the big Dhammas, and so on and so forth. And then when I see this, the reason for the cham dance, religious dance, the practitioner, it's actually aspect of one's feeling to achieve the Shine practice. There are certain lively experience to express through the body movement. That was the main reason. That was the source. And then at the same time, they couldn't just get out and dance something, but they need to dance according to certain recitations. And they need to follow the recitations. And they need to follow the rhythm of music instruments they play by the monks. And then dancers themselves, they also need to be meditate during that things. There are different kinds of meditation, I think. And then this dance will be quite okay. But when I see, I'm really not that sure whether all these dancers knowing that proper meaning or not. If they don't, the dance is just show. It's become show. There's no small aspect of controlling your mind or changing your mind. If don't, the meaning is totally lost. Because whatever we have practiced in Buddhism, they should be and must be only as remedy to remove your defilements. That's the only matter. That's the only reason why we are practicing, right? If there's no remedy, only movement, hands, feet or legs or whatever, it cannot remove your defilements. Therefore, you lost the basic idea. It's very sad. It's very sad. Because of that, Namgyal Monastery, which is a private monastery of Dalai Lamas, they used to have a once a year big dance ceremony at the end of the years, and at the end doing also Dhamma rituals. But Dalai Lama cut it out. Since 1959, they never danced. They never danced. So therefore, Dalai Lama should know what he is doing. So therefore, I'm not criticizing necessarily chant dances, but at the same time, it's difficult to understand. And on top of that, we also need to understand religious practice or Buddhist practice and Buddhist culture. These need to be kept separate, or need to understand there are two different kinds of things. And the chant dance also belongs to the Buddhist culture. And then that was a bit long, but it belongs to the armed with diligence, number one. And number two is, I would say, training for enthusiasm, training of enthusiasm for virtues. So this is the more or less the main part. Because under this, we will understand what we should avoid, what we should to apply. And to avoid is three kinds of laziness. And I just go through short and then go back to the three kinds of laziness. And then number three is fearless effort or fearless diligent practice, or undisturbed enthusiasm for virtue. So this is also very, very important, because many of us have some hesitation. If I could do, whether I could do, whether I should do, and I don't know exactly meaning of this and meaning of that, and maybe I can't, and some how should I say, hesitation. In many ways we would have hesitation. For example, if I just an example, doing retreat, and yes, I'm supposed to do a retreat, but I don't know the exactly ritual. I don't know exactly the meaning of the sadhanas, and I don't know even how should I prepare the altars and the offerings, all the things. And then I have not that much time. There's so many reasons apply to block you, right? And we can find many kinds of reasons that you couldn't do that, and shouldn't do that, wouldn't do that. So therefore, it's a break you. And then, of course, sometimes you're also a little bit puzzled because of if you read different kinds of commentaries, their major meaning would be same message, but quite number of, I don't know exactly, but maybe 30%, 40% can be difference. Because each writers have their own experience, their own knowledge obtained from the many different kinds of other commentaries and so on. So they put it together and it comes out a little bit different issue, different aspect, different patterns, different styles. So therefore, if you're reading, if you use so many different kinds of commentaries at once, you will be puzzled. Therefore, I always advise the people that first you need to use only one commentary, which is quite clear, which is not that much, how should I say, vast or so long one, but precisely, not too short, not too long, but more or less correct and quite clear explanation. So this is the right text for you, for all of us. And then, after you understand it, after you are fit with this explanation, then you can add second commentaries, and after that, third commentary, after the fourth commentaries. So then, you have your own idea with help of first text. You will be unshakable. Your understanding will be unshakable understanding. And then other things, you can add it. It's marvelous. And if there are some difference, of course, there are different things, different explanations. So you can check it. Why should be like this? Why could it be like this? How become this difference? And we can make judgment by ourselves. If we don't, we can ask. And then add text number 3, add text number 3, text number 4, and so on. At the end, you have a full information from many. So otherwise, as I mentioned earlier, you read so many commentaries, and then at the end you are totally puzzled. So that was number 3. Number 4 is enthusiasm of one who is not satisfied. So that means we should have certain enthusiasm which never be satisfied, so that we as much as you apply the practice, your interest in doing this even increased. Always want to do more and more. So now back to number 2, which is training for enthusiasm, training of enthusiasm for virtue. There are, as I mentioned earlier, there are 2. Number 1 is to avoid against the experience of the enthusiasm, and number 2 is apply the remedies, increasingly apply the remedies. Anti or hindrance of enthusiasm are 3 kinds of laziness, which are slack, slothful, or idle. This is number 1, in the sense of, maybe I'll explain later. Number 2 is laziness, which is an attachment to bad activities. This is number 2. Number 3 is state of inactivity or idleness and indolent. I found these 3 different kinds of terminologies for these 3 laziness. So now going back to the, okay, never mind. Number 1 is, in fact, I just explained earlier that I couldn't do, I shouldn't do, I cannot do, just draw back from your spiritual activities, or whatever, any kind of activities actually. So that means actually through this way of thinking, you neglected by yourself. What we need is, we need to push in front. We need to push by ourselves in front. I can do, I would do. For example, if you read, if you recite or read from the Lama Chepa, there are few occasions you can read that. And however, all Buddhas, including Buddha Shakyamuni, he was, and they were, same as us at the beginning time. So full of defilements, without knowing, without abilities, everything, right? But they apply the enthusiasm for the virtues. So therefore, they were able to develop their mental attitude, and they were in the position to remove their defilements, and they were able to reach or generate and reach the enlightenment. But we, instead of this kind of person, such as Buddha Shakyamuni, historical Buddha Shakyamuni, we just being always lazy and always push back, keep back, and think that we shouldn't, we couldn't, and so on and so forth. Still now, we can see it. That we don't need to explain so much through the logic or whatever. We have our own life experience. For example, in Singapore is not a very good example, but other bigger countries, such as Malaysia, such as Germany, and wherever, right? And if someone gives teachings in the middle of the country, there are theoretically people who are supposed to be interested in Buddhism or Buddhist teaching, but they are living such as south of Germany or north of Germany. And to get into the middle of Germany, a bit too far. 3 4 hours, 2 3 4 hours. And even this just next city might be also too far. But if you have really interested, there's no boundary. And even from South America, even from wherever, they'll join to the teachings. And for them, the distance is no problem. This is a very obvious. And then, of course, they can say, oh, I would like to join you, but at that time I have to work, I couldn't get holidays, I couldn't get whatever, and my mother was ill, or my grandpapa was not very in a good condition physically, and 1,000 reasons can be explained, but concrete. Their interest is the shortage of interest. Even the Dalai Lama give occasional teachings. Those who are really interested every year go to see him and to receive his teachings. As India is not the next door. So something like that. The second is laziness, which is an attachment to bad activities. To bad in the sense of that not necessarily spiritual activities, but worldly activities, right? And from the Buddhist or spiritual point of view, all worldly activities are regarded as bad activities, but never mind non-spiritualities activities who are very much focused. But if there are some going on, spiritual activities, so then people have hesitations, and then, oh, I wouldn't get time, I can't, and so on and so forth. But if there are some having gatherings with dance or with big party or whatever, many of them are ready to join. Then last one, number 3, is a state of inactivity, inactivities. And this kind of laziness is obviously affected so much. And this is some sort of a mental state, mental attitude. And this mental attitude affected your body and maybe verbally activities as well. So in fact, this is very subtle, very subtle. In fact, you are keeping very busy. You are working with some writing books or whatever. Even you are, maybe I can also say, if you're reading spiritual books, exaggerate without stopping and without, reading all the time. But you are not you are not trying to understanding and put into or mix, as we are talking about, mixing with your mind. It's not taking place. Just reading. Although you are reading many books, but at the end, it wouldn't happen in order to change your mind, mental practice. So that means you will know how to do this. The structure of the sadhana, you will know perfectly. And you will be also very good in ritual. But it's missing that your mind, in your mind, that the understanding of emptiness transformed into the deity yoga, and within this capacity, your state is a deity state. This is transformation, transmission from conventional level into the deity yoga level. It's missing. So therefore, if you look from the outside, he or she is perfect. He or she knows all this meaning, symbol meaning, structures, and whatever, everything. But it's not enough to apply in your mind. So therefore, this kind of knowledge is the tendency to know so many things instead of apply your mind belongs to the laziness. From the outlook, you are not lazy at all. You are very active, reading whole days. You are reading so many Lamrim books and Lojong books as well. But you can explain wonderful. But your way of conduct in your daily life, if you if you're involved with some unpleasant condition with other people, so you are ready to fighting with them. So that means you are this kind of reading, study, and all these things belongs to also the laziness, because you are lazy to apply, put into your practice. You have knowledge, but you missed put into practice. So otherwise, any kind of effortless and postponed, needful works which are connected, those are connected with spirituality, especially, of course, belongs to the laziness, and better to sleep longer and start to sleep earlier and get up very late, and all these things belongs to that. But these are, I don't think it is necessary to explain very much, so you will understand. These are regarded generally in the conventional level. We're talking about some lazy, right? Then, of course, it is very helpful and very important to think about according to Lamrim, and our lifespan is really impermanent, and for the time being, we have some abilities at least, and we are not allowed to waste of this time. We should take the chance, and so we put more effort to reach the meaningful, something meaningful for your life, and for the support or the help, or help for the other friends and other sentient beings. All these things, of course, most important in order to avoid any kind of laziness. And first I thought I'd just go through, not really through, but some points of the Shantideva's text. But I thought it will be better to make some sort of summarize. So therefore, I hope it will help you a little bit. And now, so I will end my talk. And if you have some few questions, so we will do this.
Any questions?
If you don't have any question, never mind. Okay, you are too close. Okay.
Anyone questions? Okay, then
No, just go.
Rinpoche, you mentioned that after the 8th Bhumi, laziness. Rinpoche, you mentioned that after the 8th Bhumi, laziness is no longer important. Is that so? Before reaching that path, all of this that you've taught us is what we need to remember. So after the 8th Bhumi, is that because it's nearing enlightenment, so it's no longer important? I would have thought so.
Is effort no longer important after 8th Bhumi? Is that what you're trying to say? Like after 8th Bhumi, effort, joyful perseverance is no longer important? Is that
Maybe
your
I
question?
misunderstood, yeah.
No, there's some, I think we had some slightly misunderstanding. Because if my experience was, using word effort is some sort of combined effort. But after you're reaching the 8th Bhumi, you are free from the effort. Whatever you are doing, you can do it freely. You can do it leisurely, without effort, without problems. Can I say like this? Yes.
So it's no longer a struggle, you mean?
That's right. That's the right word. Thank you.
True.
Rinpoche, so I realized, like most of us, like including myself, like when the Lama is here, we become so enthusiastic. We become effortless. Right? When the Lama is gone, we become lazy. We practice full of laziness.
Not lazy, but relaxed.
So I was just wondering, what are the advices that Rinpoche has to make us full of effort, full of...
Well, I've not really, can I say, patent recipe. Patent is a patent recipe, which is the correct way to do it. But the meaning is, but the procedure is, we teachers who give some information, some give teachings, talks, information. So this is some sort of, through this way, you accumulate the material. What you can, what you could, what you should, to apply for your practice. And after departure from the teachers, so this is the main time, this is the most important time. Whatever you listened, whatever you got information, you must work on that. So without doing this, so that will be, you neglected your information. And of course, you can use all this information by yourself alone at home, this you can also do, but not only that. It is a fruitful, if you're doing in a group. If you're doing group, because everybody or each of you get some other idea, some other views, some other understandings. So therefore, it's exchange your thoughts, exchange your understanding, compare with, or based on it, not compare, but based on some text. That will be fruitful. So otherwise, it's missing. And then if you don't participate in any kind of this, such a discussion group, such as a joint meditation, so then I don't say that you won't do anything at home, but this is additional activities will be very helpful, I think. So do we understand? Okay, thank you.
Rinpoche, so it sounds there are many ways to be lazy. So would laziness then be one that keeps us in samsara, cycling in samsara? It would be key to keeping us in samsara. So would one of the remedies for laziness be fear of samsara?
Yeah. 对。
Yes.
So then, I would say,
Clap our hands.
thank you. That's right. That's right. Thank you so much for your patience and to listen and to participate tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche.
明天见。